Hi everyone, thank you for taking the time out of your busy days to join our presentation time slot. My name is Erica Lee and I'm joined by Cameron Wilson today, and we'll be representing Chevron. Before we get started though, we wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and we just want to acknowledge and respect the continuing culture and continuous contributions they make to the life of this city and this region. So in today's session, Cam and I will give a brief overview of our own backgrounds, and then Cam will tell you a bit about Chevron's assets in Western Australia. After that, I'll run you through the details of the summer internship program, and hopefully we'll have a few minutes remaining for a Q&A at the end. So as I mentioned, my name is Erica, and I'm a second year graduate at Chevron as an instrumentation and control engineer. And Cam is also a second year graduate, but nearing his third year now as a mechanical engineer. So just a bit of an overview on how I got to working as a grad at Chevron. After graduating high school, I started a double degree of electronics and communication engineering and computer science at Curtin University in Perth. And during my penultimate year, I applied for a range of summer internships to complete my engineering hours, and Chevron was one of those. So I started the internship at the end of 2019. And during this internship, I worked on a couple of projects. One of them was a radar level transmitter obsolescence redesign project. Essentially, there were a few level instruments on the top of the LNG tanks on Barrow Island, which is in the northwest of Western Australia. And they were no longer being supported by the vendor anymore. And the new model of the transmitters required different cabling, and there were other components that needed to be factored in. So I helped to come up with a solution to have that redesigned. And as a part of that project, I was also able to fly up to Barrow Island and climb to the top of one of the LNG tanks to take some measurements. And the photo on the left there is from that site visit. Then after the internship, I was lucky enough to be offered a position at Chevron as a graduate, which I accepted. So I spent 2020 finishing off my engineering degree and then started back at Chevron in 2021 in February. So I'm currently still in my first rotation as an I&C engineer in the maintenance reliability team. And but I will be mobilizing to Onslow soon for about 6 weeks to support the major shutdown event that we have at Wheatstone coming up. So that's probably plenty from me for now. I'll hand over to Cam and he can tell you a bit more about himself.
Thanks, Erica, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cameron Wilson, and similarly to Erica, I'm also a Horizons graduate, currently in my second year of the program. I've been at Chevron as a graduate 15 months now. My Chevron journey began back in November 2019 when I commenced the vacation program in facilities engineering as a mechanical engineer. During this program, I worked as both a system engineer and project engineer. So it exposed me to both the technical and non-technical aspects of engineering, I suppose you could say. And I really did feel during this program, I was able to get involved in some high priority projects that were going on in Chevron at the time and make valuable contributions to those. So it really was a fulfilling program. And as part of this, I also traveled to Barrow Island for a site visit and engaged in the turtle tagging program. So there's a photo of me with a fellow vacation student up there with one of the turtles, which was a truly awesome experience. I then went back to uni and finished off my last semester of a Master of Professional Engineering in Mechanical Engineering at UWA and graduated in mid-2020 and then joined Chevron a few months later in October. Since then, I've been working again in facilities engineering as a piping and mechanical engineer. My day-to-day role involves a lot of piping design and analysis. This might be for new piping systems that we want to install on our assets, or looking at modifications to existing pipework. This often involves, it's a very technical role that I'm in currently, so this can involve a lot of pipe stress analysis using a modeling software called Caesar 2. So you'll see there's a screenshot of the Caesar 2 modeling software on the image second from the right on the screen above. And since joining Chevron, I've been here 15 months. I've also had about 4.5 months of site experience since joining. This has been in being involved in the turnarounds or major maintenance outage events on both the Gorgon and Wheatstone assets. So I'll go into detail on them in the slides to come. So next slide, please, Erica. Yeah, so I now just give a brief overview of Chevron, specifically highlighting our operations within Australia. Chevron is one of the world's leading integrated energy companies. So we explore for, produce and transport crude oil and natural gas globally. We refine, market and distribute transportation fuels. We also manufacture and sell petrochemicals and develop and deploy technologies that enhance business value in all the aspects I've just gone through. And Chevron Australia specifically is focused on the exploration and production of crude oil and natural gas. Chevron's got quite a long history. So we've been operating for over 140 years and been present in Australia for more than 60 years of that. And we currently have a global presence, so we're providing energy worldwide. Next slide, please, Erica. So now moving on to Chevron's operations in Australia specifically. Chevron has a combined investment of over $80 billion in Western Australia. And this comprises of both the Gorgon and Wheatstone natural gas projects. And this represents the largest investment by a single company in Australia's history. In addition to this, we also have a non-operating participant in the Northwest Shelf Venture, which is in the top right of the slide that you can see there. And that's operated by Woodside. And Chevron has a 1/6 interest in that. Looking at the map above, so you'll see that labelled on there is the Gorgon and Wheatstone LNG facilities. The Gorgon Project LNG facility is located on Barrow Island, which is about 60 kilometres offshore WA's coastline, in between Onslow and Karratha there. And you can see, based on the map on the very top left of the slide, Onslow's about a 16-hour drive from Perth. So I was working in Onslow at the Wheatstone LNG facility last year, and it took about 16 hours to drive there in my car with one of the other Horizons graduates. Looking at the map, you can also see the Gorgon I'll also mention, it's good to mention that Barrow Island's also a Class A nature reserve. So Barrow Island's quarantine management system is the world's largest non-government quarantine initiative, and Chevron's been actively protecting the biodiversity on Barrow Island for more than 60 years now, and will continue to do so for the remaining life of the asset, which is about 35 years. And then finally, the Wheatstone project consists of the Wheatstone onshore facility, which is about 12 kilometres west of Onslow, as you can see in the bottom of the map there. And also the offshore facility, which is located on a trunk line 225 kilometres offshore, if you follow that orange pipeline there. The primary difference between the Wheatstone and Gorgon onshore facilities is that Wheatstone has 2 LNG trains, whereas Gorgon has 3. Next slide, please, Erica. So this slide here is just basically a process flow diagram of the Gorgon project. And you can see the feed trunk line into the onshore facility is supplied by 2 reservoirs, the Gorgon and Jans Io reservoirs. And at this facility, the feed gas will go through the main inlet truck line and will either be processed into the LNG trains and then shipped to the Asian markets, or transported via the pipeline to supply the domestic gas market. And then moving on to the next slide, you'll see that for the Wheatstone project is fairly different in the fact that it consists of not only the onshore facility, but also has that offshore platform, as I mentioned before, where the feed, crude oil and gas will be pre-processed at the platform and then pipelined to the onshore facility 225 kilometers. And then similarly to the Gorgon project at the Wheatstone onshore LNG facility, that feed gas will be processed and then fed through the LNG trains or through the domestic gas plant to supply the domestic gas market. Moving on to the next slide, please, Erica. So if we want to put into perspective the depth of the Wheatstone and Iago reservoirs, which supply the Wheatstone platform, they begin almost 3 kilometers beneath the ocean floor. So that equates to about 11.5 Central Park buildings, which, as we know, is the tallest building in Perth. And I guess before I hand back to Erica, in summary, both the Gorgon and Wheatstone projects reinforce Chevron's position as a leading natural gas supplier and LNG operator. And it's a really exciting time to be a graduate at Chevron, given our direct involvement in such large oil and gas assets located right on our doorstep. And there is opportunities as Horizons graduates to get out there and get onto site and be directly involved in these projects. So yeah, I'll now hand back to Erica, who will talk through the summer intern vacation program structure.
Great, thanks, Cam. Yeah, so on to the portion about the summer intern program. Chevron has a summer vacation program, which is open to students from around Australia and from a wide range of disciplines as well, not just engineering. The program is a 12-week paid internship, usually starting in November and finishing in February. And we really pride ourselves on giving students real work, which is interesting, challenging, and also adds value to the business. So you have the opportunity to gain first-hand experience in a global organisation where you'll be able to grow your own capabilities in a supportive and diverse environment. All positions are based in Perth, but as Cam and I mentioned earlier, there are opportunities for site visits to our assets, Gorgon or Wheatstone, depending on your role and discipline. And our vacation program can potentially lead to employment in our graduate program, which is called Horizons, although it's not guaranteed. And our Horizons grad program was recently ranked 6th in Australia's top graduate employers list, which is published by the Australian Association of Graduate Employers. And this survey recognises organisations providing positive experiences for graduates in areas such as professional development, career progression, quality of work, and company culture. So just a few benefits of the Chevron Vacation Program. Chevron provides all of its employees with the option to work a 9-day fortnight by working an additional hour each day, and that option is also available to the interns. You get to work on meaningful projects, and with our hybrid work model, you can also work Mondays and Fridays from home. You also get free gym access to currently the QV1 gym. And throughout the program, there's a wide range of events covering leadership, industry information, energy transition, and Chevron-specific information, as well as social events, of course. So, as I mentioned, Chevron has internship positions for a whole wide range of disciplines, as listed on this slide. And just a bit of clarification on corporate affairs, that includes things like communications, marketing, and public relations. So if you have any interest in the oil and gas industry, or you'd like to work on interesting and challenging projects, we would definitely encourage you to apply. And I just also want to emphasize that Chevron really values inclusivity and promotes a workplace that actively seeks to welcome contributions from all people. So we also actively encourage people of all abilities, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, diverse cultures and backgrounds, LGBTQI plus identities, and people of all age groups to apply. In terms of our recruitment process, applications are currently open and they close on the 27th of March, so you still have a couple of weeks. So if you'd like to apply, please follow the link at the bottom of this slide. And once your application is in, you should find out if you were successful for an interview within a couple of months. And just briefly on the Horizons graduate program as well, as I mentioned earlier, the vacation program sort of acts as an opportunity for entrance into the graduate program. And this program is competency-based, so the duration can range from 3 to 5 years and typically involves 3 different rotations. But during that time, you're essentially treated as a permanent employee working on real projects in the company. And there are also a range of benefits that Chevron offers to all their employees, a couple of which I mentioned earlier, such as the compressed work week, the hybrid work model, competitive remuneration, free gym membership, the Puma fuel discount, options for the Chevron share plan, just to name a few. And then there's also a new building being constructed on Elizabeth Quay, which will be completed early 2023, which will also be a fantastic place to work. So that brings us to the end of the presentation.
Awesome. We have a fair few questions come through. Now, we might not get to all of them, but there's a couple I'd like to ask live. And if we don't get to them, you still have access, even when the next presentation starts, to answer those questions over text on the Q&A function. So I suggest doing that. But there's a couple of questions that came through. First one's first. Is Chevron's programs open for non-Australian citizens, so for international students?
Unfortunately, it's not. No, it's only for Australian residents. Yeah.
No worries at all. And probably a good question for both of you. Like, how do you find the workplace culture at Chevron? Obviously, I've been working with you guys for a little over a year now, but it's always good to hear it from people with their boots on the ground, so to speak. So what sort of, I guess, what sort of culture does Chevron have on site and in the office?
I'll take this one, Erica. I think it's important to note that the culture, as it would be at most workplaces, has changed a lot since we've transitioned into this COVID working from home environment. And I myself, since I've started, I've had a period of about 6 months in the office, about 5 or so months working virtually, and then the rest on site. So it's 3 fairly different working environments. I would say we have a very strong graduate cohort, and the culture amongst graduates is what I enjoy most about being in the office. I've found it quite difficult to stay connected with a lot of my employees since working virtually. So I think, as it would be with most workplaces, it's hard to stay in touch with people that you're not working in a direct work team with, whereas when you are in the office, I've found the Chevron culture is really good, and you do get to have a lot of diverse conversations, both work and non-work related, when you're in the office. And that's the other benefit of going on site. So now that we are working virtually, when you get the opportunity to go on site, the culture is really inclusive there. And I do find myself really craving those non-work related conversations, because you definitely miss out on them when you're stuck at home behind a desk, which is what it's been for the last couple of months.
It's a good point. Anything from yourself quickly, Erica, just before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I agree with everything Cam said. I just want to add that Chevron also has a lot of employee networks as well that hosts events throughout the year. So there's also that social aspect. Lots of sundowners and opportunities to network with people outside of your discipline.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Cameron and Erica.